Good morning. And thank you, Carl and your cat, for the lightness of being, which certainly helps me this morning. I don't know about others. I invite you to just relax into your chair or whatever you're sitting on and begin to feel your energy dropping down from your upper body, your head, your thoughts, your shoulders. Just relax your shoulders, your neck, your chest, and take a breath. And just feel that cool air filling your being. You begin to hear just gentle music in the background. Allow the words, allow the music to deepen you and relax you. Feel the stirrings in your body, perhaps in your hands or your feet. Feel that energy beginning to drop even more now, down into the chair, down through your legs, down through your ankles, and through your feet into the floor. Begin to feel the pulsation of your heart. The softening of your mind, your body, your heart. And take another breath to relax you even further. Imagine joy filling every cell in your body. It's as if you and every cell of your body are lights, beginning to radiate out to other people. Life, love, gratitude, and joy. Relax into that as you imagine showering the people you love with love. Shower the people on this service. Imagine your energy flowing to each one of them, even if you don't know who they are. Imagine your light and joy and love flooding to the people around you, where you live, in your city or town, in your country. Send it to hot spots that need cooling, to troubled spots that needs comfort. Send it to fearful places and people who need solace and calm. And as you take another breath and relax even more, let's take a few moments of stillness and silence and just let love and the divine speak to us. Now begin to be aware of your breath again. Perhaps hearing music in the background once more. Begin to come back into the room. Your eyes flutter and begin to open to the light. Your heart begins to flutter and open to the love. Our beings begin to flutter and now fly together as we open up to each other and to the rooms and the presence around us. Come on back. Thank you, Carl. I can feel lots of shakiness within me today, and I recognize that each time that happens, I need to name it because I need and want to be fully present in the room so that I can let all parts of me flow. So if you're like that today, just let them be present. Now let's get into this garden of today's talk. It's what I've called, or we'll start the opening statement, but what can I do? It's a question many of us are asking these days as we see what's happening in the world. Today's talk is about inspired action. Drink in that garden as we turn to the world around us. Does anybody feel like the world is getting just a little bit crazier lately? I wish everybody's camera could be on because I think there might be a few hands going up. So what are some of those things? You know, since March, we've been dealing with COVID-19. And after that, we had issues of racial injustice, protests, even violence. And lately, as COVID-19 spikes in BC and different parts of Canada and different parts of the world, that's shaking us even more in some ways. But it's not just those. It's forests and climates on fire. It's politics and the fire of debates in the United States, or the passing of Supreme Court justice that was loved by many, and new nominations suddenly coming on the scene. It's new elections in BC suddenly happening. And it's more than that. It's the president and first lady being now COVID positive, and people around them now having the virus as well. And maybe more personally, it's about your friends or family or even yourself feeling stirred or shaken or touched by some of these issues. That is the reality that we're living in right now. So let's, instead of resisting them, bring them in, draw them in, not to overtake us, but begin to face them directly and look at the craziness and challenges in the world with clear eyes and loving intent. When we are faced with craziness, it's sometimes helpful to turn to people who are authorities in this field. What might they ask in times like this? Well, perhaps something like, is it the world that's crazy or just me? And you know, I think it's both. I think we all have the craziness around us and crazy thoughts inside. So let's again welcome them in. If they're there, we might as well say hello, make friends with them, and find peace with them. But then there's another question that comes up as we do that. What can we practically do about them in our lives? And that's what I want to focus on here today. The question, are our spiritual ideas that we talk about each Sunday really practical enough to help us deal with worldly issue? Are they just more than just feeling good about ourselves? How do they help us in the world? And for that, I'd like to turn to explore that, but I'd also like to invite you to take a breath and just allow the spiritual presence to enter as you also hold those thoughts of the worldly issues. And let's begin to bring them together. The spiritual, the non-physical, and the worldly, the physical. Now let's turn to somebody else who knows a lot about these. This is Reverend Ellen Davenport. She's the Vice President of Publishing for Unity World Headquarters, Unity Worldwide. And in 2010, she wrote a book called The 5 Principles, based on the Unity 5 Principles. I'd like to explore them today as we begin to do this integration of spirit and world. The 5 principles begin with these 2 principles. First one is God is all there is and present everywhere. God is all there is and present everywhere. Begin to think into what that means. God is all there is and present everywhere. God is the force of love and wisdom that underlies all, the entirety of existence. Begin to get a sense of how large God or Spirit is. And now let's make the next step in those 5 principles. Human beings are divine at our core. We are that force of love and wisdom of God at our core, and therefore inherently good. Hard to believe sometimes as we look at our own lives or look at the world around us, but that's a fundamental principle. We're divine at our core and inherently good. So if that's true, imagine for a moment that it really is true. When we consider what we'd like to do in life or in the world, what kinds of ideas might naturally come to our minds? Well, here's what came to me. We would have ideas that express what we love and what we love to do, and we would have ideas that give joy and love to others. We would have the divine in us, and we would have the divine flow from us, because that's its natural beingness. It's meant to radiate and flow out from us. So look at those 2 questions for a moment, or listen to them and say, what ideas come up for you as you think about what you love to do? Is it gardening? Is it cooking? Is it listening or playing music? Is it talking to friends or walking in nature? And now let's look at the second one as well. How do you love to give joy and love to others? What ideas come up for you? Do you like to bake for somebody? Do you like to host parties, even though those are a little challenging to do in these socially challenged times? But connecting with people is still vital. What do you love to give to others? Maybe you pray for others. Inspired actions come from sharing these things. They come from sharing what you love. Some of the examples I gave, cooking, music, gardening. Inspired actions come from the thoughts of what you would most like to give. Here are some of mine. I love to mentor and to help people. I love to take car rides with my mom and be in nature. I love sharing photography of nature. These are the seeds for inspired actions. Several people myself and one other person perhaps here might recognize these two. These are greeting cards. These are cards that Rosie on our spiritual leadership team sent to me after I have done talks here. And inside the cards, she not only says thank you, but she radiates her love to me. She tells me how the talk spoke to her or how it affected her and how she appreciated it. And each one of those cards that I received after each talk enriches me in a way I can barely say. So I'd like you to think about the power of a thank you in your life, expressing to somebody who's done something that's mattered to you what it's meant to you and what it feels like to receive that kind of thank you, that kind of appreciation from somebody else. Don't we all hunger for that? This too is inspired action. Let me share one more. This is a family, an extended family circle of mine with my mother on the right. One of the things she started to do some years ago at birthday time was instead of letting people take her out for dinner, she decided to take others out for dinner and pick up the check. And she's continued that for years and now decades afterwards. And in fact, it's now not just birthday gatherings, it's all gatherings. Every time I go out with my family and friends and she is present, she picks up the check. Now, she doesn't, not to prove that she can, but because she has come into more and more abundance or financial prosperity in her life. And because of that, she's moved to share it with people. She knows not everybody can go out to dinner or afford some restaurants. And so she feels that this is one of the ways that she can give to others and have what she enjoys as well. It pleases me to give, is what she told me last night as I asked her about it. Another way of taking inspired action. For me, all of these are ways that God, or the good in us, express through us, radiate through us. That's the inspiration of inspired action. So what I want to do is suggest to you that when these ideas come up, act on them. You can trust them, act on them, and put them out there in the world because they are good flowing through you. And people will feel it, and people will appreciate it. Now, what is the purpose of giving? Let's just explore that for a moment. For me, these are the words that came to mind. Giving is about enriching ourselves because we feel richer when we give what we love, but it's also to enrich and help other people. Therefore, part of inspired action is thinking into where others are, like my mom does with, not everybody can afford to go out to dinner all the time. How can I help? Thinking into where others are is an important part of giving and inspired action. Let's take an example. Suppose you love to cook and you love red hot chili peppers and spicy, spicy food. Well, you might love that, but if you cooked for a friend or a family member and gave them that plate, it might not land on them the same way it lives inside of you. It might leave fires burning in a totally non-desirable way. Here's another example. Suppose you love chia pets, those little decorative planters, maybe like this Yoda decorative planters, where little green things grow out of it. For those of us who don't have home gardens, if you love one of those, that's great, but not everybody might appreciate your gift. And this is where thinking into where others are comes to the fore. Here are some of the ways we can think into where others are. We can ask ourselves questions like, what would they love or enjoy? or appreciate? What would they find helpful? How is this affecting them? How are our words, our actions affecting them? We're really building a bridge from ourselves into other people. And these ideas can be used anywhere. We can use them at work, in relationships and friendships, in community. Every time you think into where somebody else is, supposing you're at somebody's house, they had given you a great meal and then they go to clean up. Thinking into where they are might be going in and helping them wash the dishes or dry them afterwards. It might be at work, thinking into what's happening with a fellow employee. Or it might be coming to the next Unity gathering, Unity White Rock gathering, and saying, how can I help do the work of setting up, serving, or taking down? Back to the 5 principles. Principle number 3. Thoughts have creative power. Our thoughts, not just our actions, but our thoughts have creative power to determine events and attract experiences. One of the core principles of Unity. Let's look at an example. This young girl is Cameron Johnson. She's 9 years old, and she lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the United States. And she, back in May, was watching the local news, and the local news wasn't pretty. She was seeing acts of protest and acts of violence, and she was seeing buildings in her neighborhood, many owned by Black people, being torched or looted. And she was feeling sad and asked the question, so what can I do? Well, she took that question out to others, in fact, to a friend in her circle. And that friend said, why don't we make some bracelets? Bracelets for peace and for unity that we could share with others and sell them and maybe raise money, because Cameron's concern was, how do we help families and neighborhoods and Black-owned businesses in need? So they got together with 5 friends and created bracelets for sale. And they set up on the lawn of one of the houses a place to sell bracelets. Well, you can see there's a lot of bracelets that they made, but they needed to, because not that idea took root. It got to the media locally. It got to people who began coming out to buy. It got to the national media, Good Morning America, CNN. People started to come and not only buy bracelets, they reached up to $2,500 of sales in a day. But people began hearing about the issues, because each time one of these children sold a bracelet, they shared why they're doing it. And they began talking with people about racism and police brutality and the actions that can be taken. It began to open people's hearts. So it was way more than the original idea, but it fulfilled the idea of Cameron and her heart of, what can we do? How can we raise these issues? How can we help people financially? And how can we come together as young people, older people, Black and white, any race or ethnic group, in unity and justice and peace? That's inspired action. Our thoughts have creative power. And these questions of, what do I love or care about? What can I do? And how can I help? Are the seeds that grow the garden of the goodness and richness of creative power. And they are the seeds of God manifesting in the world. However, and there's always a but, right? We've all got buts, pardon the expression. We don't just have ideas of love and goodness in ourselves, do we? Human nature is light and dark, love and fear. extending and withholding. Today's daily word was very much about that. It says, in the past, I may have hidden my inner light because I was afraid to be myself. We may have tried to please others. How many of us haven't done these first two, hidden our light or tried to please others by being what they wanted instead of ourselves? How many of us haven't shrunk from putting out a desire or an aspiration or an idea into the world because we feared we would fail? But the daily word says, be brave and bold and fearless and live more authentically, live more true to what's inside of you, because that's your garden of goodness to bring into the world and into your own life. Back to the 5 principles, and principle number 4. Prayer and meditation align us with the one great power in the universe. Often prayer and meditation are seen to be passive things to make us feel better. That's only part of it. They are also very active. In fact, they are inspired actions in and of themselves. And here's an example. On September 12th, and before it, after the last time I spoke with Unity here, this is what it looked like from my balcony. And in fact, it had been like that for most of the week before. And I asked inside, what can I do to deal with the smoke coming from the fires in the United States? Fires burning millions of acres in California and other states, and some in BC as well. But what I got inside was, it wasn't just the fires externally that were burning that was important. It was the fires inside of people that needed healing and quelling. So what I did is I put out an email invitation to some of my healing network, some in Ontario and some locally, my prayer and healing network, inviting about 20 or 25 people, whoever wanted to come together in prayer, in meditation, and in healing. And somebody sent an email back and said, why don't we do it for 4 nights in a row? So for 4 nights in the following week, we came together and visualized and prayed and sent healing out to the fires outside and to the fires inside, in whatever way this spoke to us. And within 24 to 36 hours after having done that last meditation, this is what it looked like off my balcony. I could see sunset and clear skies for the first time. I could see vaguely the mountains of the Gulf Islands and Vancouver Island again. And it stayed clear for 10 days after that. Was it an accident, a coincidence, or was it connected? I'll let you be the judge. Now lately, in the last few days, we've started to have those fires impact our area again, with the smoke coming back. And it's a reminder to us, I think, that we are not alone. And even if our skies may be clearer, there are still fires burning elsewhere. So what I'm going to be doing starting tomorrow is sending out a new Healing of the Fires project to my broader network. And if you want to know more about joining in prayer and meditation and healing during the coming week, I'll put more into the chat at the end of the service, and I'll let you know. But for me, it's a demonstration that we can work with larger forces around us, among us, between us, through prayer, meditation, and joint healing, that can truly be inspired action and heal our world. So now let's come to the conclusion of the 5 principles with principle number 5. It is not enough to just understand and think about spiritual teaching. The ideas are not enough. We must live and be, bring into the world the truth we know. So what stops us from doing that? Well, it's some of the things we've already heard. We don't trust our goodness and let our beauty out. We don't trust the God the love, the light within, the ideas that come up, and let our beauty, the things we love, the ways we love to give, out. We don't act on our inspired ideas because we're afraid of being seen as silly or foolish, dumb or stupid, or feeling embarrassed. And we don't connect enough with our higher self by taking those moments to turn within, listen, be prompted, and move them out. So here's my invitation. Nature's beauty reflects my own true nature. That's the monthly statement for unity worldwide. Think about that for a moment as you look at something like this sunflower. How amazing it is, how radiant it is, how intricate it is, how expressive it is of life. And use that and say, is that reflecting my own true nature? And if so, what's alive in me to be shared? And to use that, let your inner richness and your inner garden guide you for the week to come in inspired action. This is your inner garden, and perhaps even more radiant than that. Find all the good, the God that's inside of you, all the ideas and the richness wanting to come up as you listen for loving and healing ideas. And then look for ways that come up naturally that would be inspired actions of how you would offer that to others. And finally, use all of them and bring them fearlessly into your world. Now let's just take a moment and turn within and let some of those ideas flood over you as you close your eyes or leave them gently open. Take a breath. Feel the vibration in your body. And begin to see how that moves you. Perhaps ideas come to mind, or perhaps it's just an energy of, I want to do more of that. Begin to watch what comes up in you, because that is the power of love. The power inside of you. You are tremendously powerful and beautiful and radiant being in your core. Give yourself permission this week to let it out in whatever ways make you alive, and give that life to others too. If anyone would like to know more about the 5 principles, there's an event coming up online on Friday that Pixie will be talking about near the end of the service. And as I said, if you want to know more about healing the fires, I'll have more at the end of the service as well. So now I'd like to turn over to Carl Katz, who is somebody who really puts inspired ideas and inspired action into his life through not only his music, but through social justice and other ways of being present in the world. I turn it over now to Carl.
Thank you, Eric. Love is but a song we sing, there's no way we die. You can make the mountains ring, make the angels cry. Though the bird is on a wing, you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together in love. Some may come and some may go. We shall surely pass. When the one who left us here turns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together and love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together and love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. Listen. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both, it's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together and love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together and love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your loved ones, everybody get together and love one another right now.
Thank you, Carl. That was really touching. Thank you so much for your beautiful songs. And Eric, thank you for your heartfelt message and that wonderful meditation. It was magical.